Hello and welcome to another episode of the Open Source Education Podcast. I am your host, Precious, and I will be talking about LLMs in the open source. Briefing through LLMs typically stand for large language models, and if you can't really pin them down, just think about ChatGPT or Gemini. Basically, that's like what these systems are built on. I will explain what an LLM is in general and then talk about it with respect to open source projects. A large language model is a computational model notable for its ability to achieve general purpose language generation and other natural language processing tasks such as classification, according to Wikipedia. The difference between that and open source LLMs is just literally that open source LLMs are made publicly available for anyone to use, modify, and distribute. So you already know this about open source projects. The difference between open source and proprietary, which you can probably call closed source if you want, is that one is available to the public and the other is not available to the public. So open source large language models are advanced AI models designed to understand and generate human-like language or text, and they are made publicly available for anyone to use, modify, and distribute. These models are typically released under open source licenses. We discussed licenses in the last episode, and they allow for transparency, collaboration, and innovation. Surprise, surprise. Right, so some of us have, I think like a greater percentage of the world has probably used ChatGPT at this point. So like its benefits are something that you probably be familiar with. There's things like enhanced efficiency and productivity, helps you have like for maybe businesses, you're able to make your customer service be a little bit more personalized, helps with innovation and creativity, helps with content generation, automation of tasks, increased speed, just things like that, right? But as much as there are benefits, there's also been some issues that people have faced with open source LLMs. And one of them is biasness. So there was this one time where it was pretty popular that some of the AI tools weren't giving information that was related to maybe Black people or like people from Africa or people from like a certain demographic. And this usually happens when the data that it's fed, because like obviously these things work on data that they've been fed, and so it's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't put in data, it will not have something to work with. So it literally just work with what it has. And if you mistakenly put false data or intentionally put false data, whichever is the case, it will churn out false data for you. So some of the issues is biasness, not having sufficient trained data, model limitations, maybe possible that with a large amount of data, the model does not truly understand the information. Can also be context misunderstanding. The model might not understand the context of whatever it is that is being asked, and then is leading to irrelevant or incorrect responses. And these are machines when you think about it in general. Yes, they are smart and they build on previous data, but at the same time, at least from the beginning, what they work with is what has been put into them. And some of the ways to solve this issue should be increasing or improving the quality of the data that is imputed into the systems. We're evaluating the model to be sure that it can identify and mitigate common false information. User feedback, leveraging feedback from users to understand common failure points and then improve the model's accuracy. And then there is like a common thing, one term for an instance where a model generates information that is not accurate or grounded in provided data is hallucinations, right? So when your open source model brings out information that is inaccurate, it's called a hallucination, which is very interesting to know. Regardless of some of the problems that we've seen, we also really know that open source LLMs are important tools because they help build transparency and trust. And open source LLMs allow researchers and developers to inspect the model's architecture, look through what is built on the data, and like work on it and keep improving your sort of how, in general, one of the qualities of open source is to be able to have people from different parts of the world, different experiences, and look through the information and the source code and build on it. Then there's like innovation and collaboration. There is the part where it accelerates innovation, helps with cost effectiveness too, because now other companies that want to use AI can save money by using open source projects that don't particularly cost as much, if they have any cost, as proprietary software. Also gives accessibility, sort of similar to transparency and trust. It gives access to a broader audience and people who may not be able to afford like proprietary models. Also helps with customization too, because the users can tailor these models to specific needs, improving performance for specific tasks or domains. So some examples of open source LLM are GPT-Neo and GPT-G. It's very similar to the GPT-3, but it's smaller and has the same capabilities with the GPT-3. It was developed by Eluta AI, and these models aim to replace the capabilities of OpenAI's GPT-3. We have BERT, that's BERT, bidirectional encoder and representations from transformers. It's developed by Google and used widely for various natural language understanding tasks. We have Roberta, has like a capital R, small capital BERT, then a small letter A. So it's robustly optimized BERT pre-training approach. It's an optimized version of BERT and it's developed by the Facebook AI. There's T5, text-to-text transformer, developed by Google. T5 frames all NLP, that's natural language processing tasks, as text-to-text transformations. Bloom is another example. It's a multilingual model developed by a large consortium of researchers at Big Science, which is also like related to Hugging Face, and it focuses on providing an open source alternative to proprietary large-scale language models. Then we have Falcon. It has very impressive performance. Then we have Stable LM, backed by Stability AI. We've learned how open source LLMs have benefited us generally, some of the problems that you face from open source LLMs, why they are important, some examples of open source LLMs. And as usual, now we want to figure out how to either use them in our projects, incorporate them, or like contribute to open source LLMs, right? So we can integrate them directly by using them in our code base, using libraries like Hugging Face's transformers, which is just really, really cool. That's also another example of like open source LLMs. So you can integrate the library through the APIs, and then also customization, fine-tuning our models on a specific data set to improve performance for your particular use case. You can decide to tweak the model to work in a way that is specific to whatever you want to use, which is like also because you're using an open source model and that's something that it allows you to do. When you do either of this, you can make these LLMs a part of your project, helps with like sharing awareness about them, gives you a cheaper alternative, and you have like a really large model that is built on the experience and data from different demographics. So it's actually has higher chances of being accurate than proprietary software. If you are coming from the contribution side, you can contribute to the development of these models or their supporting libraries by writing code, fixing bugs, adding new features, writing documentations, writing about these projects, which is really cool. You can improve accessibility and usability by contributing to documentation, making it easy for new users to understand and utilize the models. You can do research and development, R&Ds, conduct research to explore new techniques or improve existing models and share findings with the community. Another thing you can do is contribute data to these models, right? If you can generate data sets that are more accurate and that they can be built on, then yes, please contribute to the community. It helps us build more diverse data sets that these models can learn from. And I think it's a really, really interesting topic to see how much LLMs and AI has been eaten into our world, especially like in the space of 2 to 3 years. And I'm very interested to see how it affects us in the future. I hope you've been able to learn something from today's episode. In conclusion, open source LLMs play like a really crucial role in like democratizing and making AI technology accessible to everybody. It promotes transparency, collaboration, and innovation. By leveraging these models, developers and organizations can enhance their products, drive research, contribute to the broader AI community. And as much as that's part of contributing to, but I think it's what saying, build data that is accurate and diverse. So whether through direct usage, integrating into your products, contributing actively, as open source enthusiasts and like builders have an opportunity to shape the future of AI in a meaningful and inclusive way. And that is one of the core facets of open source. So it's beyond just building something that people can have answers with, or like you can just type, I need help this quickly and you get help. It also helps you shape the face of the future, because the data that these LLMs are built on now is what they'll keep building with and improving on in the future. So it's really important that the data is accurate, and a few years down the line, more cultures are represented in the information that is going to churn out, right? So, yeah, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time again today on this episode. See you on the next one. And if you haven't, listen to the previous ones and share to your friends and your family and even people that you don't speak to. Everybody needs open source education. Until next time.